As I was saying yesterday, this Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. You go hand in hand. They both grew up in India and they complement each other perfectly. So we could say that Ayurveda is the science of, as you can see, long living and healthy life. And this is very much about the physical aspect of our being, where yoga is about the spiritual aspect of our being. Yoga in the modern world has, people think it's all about the physical, but literally the original intention is, of course, as we know, the spiritual awakening. So this Ayurveda was more geared towards maintaining the physical body, and yoga was about expanding our consciousness. So Ayuhu means longevity or span of life, and Veda, we've heard this word many times, Vedas, the teachings, the ancient knowledge. This is the branch of knowledge. So most ancient medicinal system in the world, according to them. Depends where you go, right? Each culture says, no, ours is the oldest. Like if you go to China, often they'll dispute these Indian claims of having the most ancient systems. So in yoga philosophy, food is extraordinarily important because, remember, we have 5 bodies, yes? Physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual. What is our physical body made of? Cells, amino acids. It's also made of the food that we eat. You are what you eat, literally. And the Sanskrit word for the physical body, the physical kosha, is ana maya kosha, the kosha, or we could say level of us that is made of food. Ana is food. So they understood that everything you put into your mouth is creating this physical body. Now, food and drink have 3 different dimensions. The physical, which always leaves the body when you're going to the toilet. The subtle, which is the nourishment that forms the physical body. And then the subtlest is the energy that becomes your thoughts. So as we know, all 5 of these bodies are in constant communication. Let's say the first 4 bodies, because the spiritual body is on its own. It's perfect and never changing. However, the first 4 bodies are in constant communication. So as you put in a higher vibration of food into your body, that's going to affect everything else. It's going to affect your energy, your emotions, and your mind. Anybody had a heavy meal or a spicy food and then felt differently emotionally after that meal? Or if you have a spicy meal close to bedtime and you go to sleep, have you ever had nightmares after having eaten too close to going to sleep? This is some indication that all the food that we're eating is actually impacting our emotions as well. Now, Ayurveda looks at the subtlest dimension of food and drink, meaning the energy that changes the consciousness. It's less about the physical dimension because they're not really measuring proteins and carbohydrates and vitamins and minerals. They are looking strictly at the energetics of the food. And this is very, very different than the Western nutritionist idea of how to feed the body, where we have to count calories and know exactly how many grams of fat and how many grams of protein, etc., to get balance. Ayurveda never goes in that direction, really. They're always talking about the subtle aspect of how the food is impacting, of course, the body, but also the more subtle aspects of ourselves, the ocean, the energy and the mind, the emotions, I should say. Okay, so what kind of energy is the food giving? We know that this body is made of the same thing that the universe is made of, all 5 elements. What is the earth in our body? Bones, good. What else? What else is made of earth, the element of earth in this physical system which you are living in?
Skin.
Skin, not really. Think about things that are more solid and dense. We have bones, we have teeth, we have hair, and we have nails. These are considered more of the element of earth. Water, our body is mostly water, right? So we know that one. What about fire? Where's the fire in your body? The fire is in the belly, right? You have that fire in the belly. It's related to Manipura chakra, the navel chakra, the fire of digestion, the fire of your willpower. Willpower is related to Manipura chakra. So this is the fire of your being. But we also have air. Where do we have air? Right. And of course we have space. The body has to exist within some sort of container of space, and within every cell. Most of each cell and each particle in the universe is actually empty space. So we have a tremendous amount of space within us, and they say in yoga we have more space than anything else within ourselves. Now, let's go to what you did a little bit of homework with last night to start understanding deeper. What we have here is called the TriDoshas, the 3 doshas. This has to do with your body type or your constitution, your typology. What they did was they took the 5 elements that we just talked about, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and they brought them into a 3 categorized system. So space plus air is vata, fire plus water is pitta, and water plus earth is kapha. Now this is going to make more sense as we go deeper into it. All of these bodies, all of our bodies, every single human being is made of a combination of these 3 different doshas, different percentages, different, and it changes throughout our lives as well. So we're born with a certain typology, but moment to moment, as the entire universe is in flux or in transformation, so are our bodies. So we have a certain understanding of what our main typology is, but also we need to understand what we are experiencing in this moment, in the physical body and in the mind and in the emotions. So these are not physical things. You can't do an autopsy on a body, cut it open and find vata or pitta or kapha. This is subtle. So they do not exist in the physical body. They exist in the prana maya kosha. What is prana? Energy. What is the prana maya kosha? We talk about koshas being bodies, so pranamaya kosha is the body made of energy, the subtle energy. So these are the subtle energies. Now, Ayurveda does go into what's called the sapta dhatus. These are the 7 building blocks of the physical body, and they come from the doshas. So think about this. Everything that exists in this universe comes from somewhere, and it comes from the source, which is the highest vibration, the most subtle frequency that exists. Let's say the frequency of God, let's call it. And as God decides to create the universe, things come from the highest vibration and slow down. And then they become ether. Then it becomes air. Then it becomes fire. Then it becomes water. Then it becomes earth. So you can see that it goes from the highest vibration, slowly, slowly decreasing in vibration to the most dense or slowest vibration of the solid material of earth. So these things that we're looking at here are built by the energy. So they are plasma, blood, bone marrow, muscle, bone, fat, and the reproductive tissues. So this is how Ayurveda sees that our body is constructed from the energy that comprises the universe. Now, Ayurveda says health equals the balance of the 3 doshas. And once you're in balance, everything's good. The problem is we walk outside and we breathe air that's polluted and we're out of balance. So it's not easy to stay in balance with these doshas, and it's a lifelong understanding of how do I bring myself back into balance when, for whatever reason, I've come out of balance. So physical, mental, and emotional health is related to the balance of these doshas. Now Ayurveda, the amazing thing about Ayurveda, one of them, is that it's a preventative medical system. It's not like the West at all, where we take a pill after we have a symptom and we deal with the symptoms. This is about prevention. It's about a lifestyle. If we eat right daily, if we do yoga, if we breathe, if we do all these things that yoga science offers us, that's what's bringing us into balance. So this is more of how do we maintain balance rather than how do we deal with a problem when it arises, which is what we have in the West. Modern medicine is very invasive. They actually cause imbalances. When you take a pill to cure your headache, what is that doing to your liver? These chemicals that are in the allopathic medicine of pharmaceutical pills are very, very difficult on the body, actually. They might alleviate a symptom momentarily, but they are usually in no way, very often I can say, I don't want to give a percentage, but very often they are not addressing the cause of the problem. They're only masking the problem by trying to alleviate a symptom, like a headache, which might be an indication of some deeper issue, like an imbalance in the body or emotions or mind. So as we go through Western medicine and we keep covering up the symptoms, we are not going to the source of the problem. So we're not eradicating the issue that's creating the imbalance. Ayurveda takes us back to the origin of what we are and finds our balance through the food, what makes our body and our minds.
Jason,
Yeah.
I've always understood actually that if you're a pizza, which I am, I have to take care of my pizza, but actually what you're saying is that if you're really healthy and in balance, you've got all 3 kind of the same.
Well, imbalance for your typology, because if you're a Pitta, that will always be a predominance in your typology, okay? So that doesn't mean that you have all 3 exactly balanced. It means if you're born Pitta, then your Pitta should be in balance, and the other 2 will always be secondary compared to that. And what that means is if your Pitta is in balance or out of balance, there are certain symptoms. If it's out of balance, you have too much heat in your body, it can cause skin problems. If you have not enough heat in your body, it can cause problems with digestion, etc. So it's a matter of finding the balance for your typology. Okay?
What's about if, for example, Vata and Pitta is the same?
Then it's the same thing. You're looking at two doshas. Sometimes, and we'll get into this deeper, but you can have two doshas that are predominant, almost the same level. So you could be Vata Pitta typology. And that's usually how we talk about things in Ayurveda. They don't just say I'm Pitta. Usually we say I'm Pitta Vata or Pitta Kapha, because there's a secondary one that also we need to be aware of, because it has an importance in how we balance the whole system, because it's an important part of what's constituting our thoughts, our emotions, and our mind, and our physical body. So the doshas, most people have one dosha dominant with the second dosha closely following, which is what we just mentioned, and the third dosha is usually a smaller concentration. Now, if you understand your dosha dominance, you can live lifestyle according to that dominance, and you'll live a longer, healthier life. Because when you figure out what you eat takes you in or out of balance, then you stop eating the things that are taking you out of balance. Well, maybe you can remember to stop eating the things, even though the ice cream is one of my favorite things. I know it's not balancing me, but so I do a lot more pranayama the next day. Okay, that way I can eat my ice cream and know that I'll be okay. Okay. Now, what you're born with is called Prakruti. This is your typology at birth. And this is different than what I'm going to explain next. But your Prakruti has to do with the percentage of your dosa combination that you're born with. It's your nature. This is your natural typology. And your lifestyle, not just the foods you eat. So if you're a Pitta person, which I am very much, a lot of fire, a lot of energy, and I'm warm all the time. So if I'm living in a place that's warm all the time, I'm actually aggravating my Pitta. But I'd rather be hot than cold, so I choose to live in Thailand rather than in New York City, where I was born. The things that you read, the things that you watch on TV, the activities that you do, if you sleep a lot or if you are active, all of these things impact your balance in your dosha system. So it's not just about food. I need you to understand this very importantly. This is also about all of your life and how it impacts the balance of all the bodies. So food is one of the important steps, but it's not the only thing in Ayurveda to be aware of. It's also your lifestyle and how you live your life. Now, this is what you're born with, but what happens is in a day-to-day life, we have shifts, and what we eat changes our body in the moment, it changes our emotions and our minds, how we slept the night before, what we read, and all the things that are going on in our minds are affecting this moment, and they call that Vikruti. So Vikruti is your current percentage of the dosha balance. And this, of course, is also influenced by the same exact factors as lifestyle and all the other things that we've just been mentioning. Now, what I'm going to do is go through an introductory lecture here. I am not an Ayurvedic doctor, obviously, but I have studied a bit, so I can introduce this topic to you, but I don't have the full science at my disposal. So what I want to do is plant some seeds and get you to start doing some research on your own. The best thing that you can do is find a professional Ayurvedic doctor and go do a consultation with this doctor who spends about an hour just asking you questions about your physical body, about how you react to situations, like the questionnaire you took last night. So that questionnaire last night was a simplified version, but it's a little bit deeper than some of the other ones I've seen on the internet, so I chose that one. But in general, that's just to get an idea. If you really want to understand more, you need to go to a professional and sit down with the doctor and go through these questions that talk not only about your physical body, but also your emotions and your mind. So this is how we can really get deeper into the sciences with the help of a professional. So today I'll just give you some outlines to give you a general understanding. Now, Vata. What makes up Vata? We just saw this before. Do you already remember? It's two elements that make up each of the doshas. Vata is made of space and air. Okay? Now this will make sense as we look into how this typology experiences life. So, in general, okay, there's always exceptions to the rule, and there's always so much variety within the human population, but in general, we look at a Vata person and they're usually more tall and thin. They can walk fast, speak fast, think fast. Vata is air. What does air do? It moves. So this Vata is represented by movement. And a person who's very quick in their mind or moves a lot in their body, this is a representation or an indication that they have Vata. and they're often very creative, very lively, energetic. But Vata and air, think of wind. What does it do? It dries things out. So Vata can also be very dry. And you could have dry skin or hair. One of the things that Ayurveda helps us to do for the aging process is to understand that all of the symptoms of aging are related to an imbalance of Vata. So if you're getting older, your skin can start to dry out. You can start to get wrinkles. Your hair can turn gray. And all of these things have to do with being too dry. You've lost some of the youthful juices that flow through the body. And as you start to age, you get more and more Vata. So as you go through life, you actually have different parts in your life where you'll have, generally speaking, a different balance or imbalance based on what part of your life you're in. So you can learn fast, but you also forget fast. You know, it's like in one ear, out the other. They got it, and then it's gone, fast. Cold hands or cold feet. When people get older, their circulation usually isn't as good either. So these signs of aging, if we can keep the Vata in balance, we can delay, let's say, the signs of aging. So this is important to understand. We don't want to get too dry, and we don't want to get too much wind blowing through us. We want to keep these things balanced, and we'll show you how to do that. So you don't like the cold or dry weather, and you can react to negative emotions with anxiety and fear. Now, who in here is predominantly Vata based on what you learned last night? Okay, yeah, okay, I see it. Yeah, okay, yep. Okay, now based on what we're talking about here, as a generalization, are there some things here that apply to the Vatas that raise their hands? Do you feel like some of these categories or descriptions fit for you? Right? Always have cold feet. But remember, everyone, please remember, you're not only Vata, okay? You have a secondary that also impacts your typology. So we can't only say that I am Vata and I am strictly Vata, because nobody is only strictly Vata. Now we go to Pitta, which is my predominance. Medium build, strong, good digestion, disciplined, hardworking. But these people can get stressed out easily, and they can get ulcers in the stomach. They tend to make good leaders, good motivational speakers. Often Pitta people have freckles, not always. Skin-related problems. Again, these are general, okay? So don't feel like, uh-oh, I'm Pitta, I'm gonna get skin problems. Often Pitta people have good memory, good intelligence. They don't like the heat, and they can react to negative emotions with anger. So who here was predominantly Pitta? A lot, right? Okay, does some of this apply to you? Okay, not all of it perhaps, but you can start to see that this will help you to understand. Then you take this knowledge of your typology into how to make lifestyle choices and food choices. Now, Kapha. These people tend to usually be a little bit shorter, not always, but they can be bigger, stocky, bulky, a little bit thicker. And they have a propensity or a possibility towards overweight. Usually, they have the best immunity of all the three doshas, the best immune system. Slow to learn, but good long-term memory. Once they learn it, it's like an elephant. They have it forever. They're kind, can be, not always. Forgiving, easygoing, romantic, moist. So this is the opposite almost, or not the opposite, but very much on the other side of Vata. Okay, so Kapha and Vata, you can see that they are opposing in some ways. They don't like the moist or wet weather, and they can react to negative emotions with insecurities and jealousy. Anybody here predominantly Kapha? Right. You are, okay. And you, okay. Do you see that any of this applies to you?
Not really.
Not really? Okay, what's your secondary dosha?
Pitta, they were like 3 points apart maybe.
Okay, so when they're very close, then it'll be any kind of combination from the two possibilities, yeah? Do you see anything here that relates to you? Mostly Kapha, okay. All right, now, how do we choose our food? Okay, let's go into this to understand. Well, there are 6 rasas according to Ayurveda, and this has to do with the essence or the taste of the food. So, again, you guys are going to get all of these PowerPoints. I'm going to give them to Gabriel, and Gabriel's going to put them in Dropbox for me. Won't you, Gabriel? Thank you, brother. Okay. So the first one is sweet. And now some of these might not sound like what we call sweet in the West, but the carbohydrates. If you eat rice and you chew rice and you're not addicted to stimulation, if you chew rice enough, it starts to get sweet. But if all you do is eat chemical food all day, which is what a lot of people in the modern world do, they are desensitized to natural flavors and taste because they are hyper-stimulated all day long. If you eat McDonald's, if you eat junk food, All this stuff has so many chemicals in it, and it stimulates it so much that that's what we get addicted to, because we have a momentary high off that stimulation from these chemicals. And therefore, when we have that hyperstimulation, overstimulation, we don't have the sensitivity to the more natural, softer, organic flavors. So proteins, sugars, grains, pasta, bread, sweet potato, yam, all the starchy vegetables, carrots, pumpkins, avocados, all meat, believe it or not, is considered sweet in this way that they are categorizing, which is different than our Western point of view. And eggs, soybeans, cashews, milk, and butter. Now salty, salt, obviously, soya sauce, salted fish and meats, and sour, things like citrus fruits, but not grapefruit, tomatoes, yogurt, alcohol, fermented foods, pickled foods, and vinegar. I'm from New York, vinegar. Okay.
Is sweet only the cashew or any nuts?
I'm sorry?
Only the cashew are sweet?
Only the cashew. It depends on the nut. So each nut has a different flavor, and I don't know the list of all the nuts. You'll have to go into a little bit more research for that one. All right, the rest of the rasas, pungent or spicy. You can see this: chilies, ginger, black pepper, onions, garlic, cinnamon, ginger, and wasabi. Bitter, okay, I'm not going to sit here and read to you. You can see this. Bitter, astringent. Now this is something we don't really talk about in the West as a flavor, but astringent, if you've had these, it's almost by process of elimination. It's something that doesn't have the same taste as the others. But I don't have a better way to explain astringent, because we never use that word to apply it in English to food. Taste what? Less? I don't know. Olives have a lot of flavor, and
They all just like kind
asparagus.
of like taste in your mouth after you eat.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, you just asked the question. It comes up right here. The nuts and the seeds depend on the taste of that nut or seed. So we're starting to learn now to choose which taste based on your dosha combination. And I can promise you, literally promise you, that if you start to eat according to your dosha, you will guaranteed feel better. Okay, as soon as I changed my diet and started eating according to my dosha, I had a lot less stomach problems. My digestion is smoother. My excretion, is smoother. But everything gets better, okay? When we eat this food, that's the energetic resonance with our energy. What is resonance? When two things are of like vibration and they can be together. So if we put the right vibration of food into our body, we won't have a negative impact or a negative consequence. So this is a huge science for us to learn. And then, as a teacher or as a yogi, you can share this with people that are having digestion problems, they're having headaches. Literally, we can solve so many health issues by changing the diet if we eat according to our typology. And as I said before, there's a great expression: most people in the modern world are digging their own graves with their own teeth, because they're eating things that are poisoning themselves, killing themselves. So please start to be aware of it. Really isn't something to overlook. This is a huge aspect of who you are, is the food that you eat. And we know that people that eat bad food do not have the same emotional stability. They don't have the same clarity of mind. Asena, did you have a hand up?
Yeah, I couldn't understand very well. If I'm dominantly Vata, so I need to increase my Vata, right?
We need to keep it balanced, okay? So what that means is, if you are predominantly Vata, you don't want to add too much Vata food into your diet, because that will, what we call, derange or aggravate Vata, and then you'll have symptoms of negative sensations or feelings based on having too much Vata. So what we need to do this is, again, like yoga, a big experiment. You have to try these things and figure out what works for you.
What
Just
is a good proportion of these three doshas?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
mine is
in
like all of
percentage.
them.
there is no such thing as a good proportion or a bad proportion between the doshas. It's just who you are. So it doesn't mean better or worse. The balance means, according, as I was saying, the balance is according to your typology. So we try to balance the Vata by meaning you're taking in the food that doesn't aggravate and make you more Vata. Now, this will become more clear. Let me go through this and see if I can answer it as we go through the lecture, okay? Yes, Mirta.
Is there like a good source somewhere with all types of ingredients and products and vegetables, whatever, like an extensive list of what belongs to which, what is good for which?
In that case, I would start going into books who are written by doctors, the Ayurvedic doctors, and they will have a comprehensive study in a book that explains the whole science of Ayurveda. Are there great books on Ayurveda? Yes. I've read some in my yoga therapy course. I read books about Ayurveda that were related to yoga therapy, because once you learn how to balance your doshas, you can learn to balance disease as well, because imbalance of doshas leads to disease and illness. So this is another important part of yoga therapy, is working with Ayurveda in terms of balancing the doshas. Now, when we look at this starts to give you an indication. Those people that are Vata, they usually need to eat more times a day. If you're Vata and you're here at Vikasa doing a teacher training course, you may be suffering from hunger because your body is burning food quickly. Same for Pitta. So much. Now, in general, Pitta could have 3 meals a day, and they should never skip breakfast. They should never skip a meal. I only eat 2 meals a day as a Pitta, and I'm okay with that. I think I've adapted myself to that over years of yoga. But for those, and I know that some people have really struggling with only 2 meals a day, maybe it's because it's not right for your body, and that's okay. But what you can do is have snacks in your room and things like that. You don't have to only eat twice a day. No one here is whipping you if you go and try to sneak a snack. Now, Kapha, there's 2 meals a day. Breakfast could be optional. They have a slower digestion. Kapha tend to be bigger and slower, so they don't need to eat as much because they're not burning things as quickly as the Pitta and the Vata. Now, the Western medicine and the nutritional guidelines of the West very much overgeneralize, and every new fad diet says this is the best diet in the world, and it's for everybody, and everybody should be on the Atkins diet, which was popular in America a little while ago, and only eat meat. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. So what happens when you eat only meat? You don't have any carbohydrates barely going into your body, so you lose a little bit of weight in the first few days, and everybody gets excited that, oh my God, it was so easy to lose weight. I'm going to eat another 6-pack of hot dogs tonight for dinner. But what happens is, as soon as your body starts to go into shock from not having carbohydrates, which the brain needs to have, it becomes a very big problem. So these fad diets that go to the extreme and say this is the newest, greatest thing for every human being to do, everything is according to the individual basis. So we don't want to overgeneralize. Well, what should you eat then? Okay, if you're Vata, now I already told you what these sweets or what these flavors are and what some of the foods are, and you do more research to find out more foods for your tastes. But a Vata can eat sweet, salty, sour, and most of the time avoid other foods. Now there's a good rule, and I mentioned it in the nutrition lecture that I did in the first week, and that is thank God we have this rule, otherwise we'd all be in trouble, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you follow the rules, 20% of the time you can have a little fun or do whatever you need to do. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't have a choice. It's not going to kill you if you have a cookie. It's not going to kill you if you have something that isn't perfectly organic. But what you want to do is bring back balance the next meal, okay, and have conscious choices throughout the day. Yes?
What do you do if your dominant is Pitta and secondary is Vata? Because it says avoid other tastes, but then there's other tastes.
What I had to do is figure out food by food. And this is trial and error. It's the only way. So what helps you do the trial and error is to have very simple meals. If you can eat one, if you really have digestion problems, this is a huge important way to do this. You'd eat one food at a time, just one ingredient. What does this do to me? Okay, then you try a different ingredient. And this could just be over the course of months, right? If you have, this is a lifelong science. It's not like you need to figure it out all in one day, but it will take time to do the research and accumulate the data to figure out which foods are right for you. So I would eat one food and see how that made me feel. And if it felt good, I could put that in the one list of okay. But if it made me feel too much gas or nauseous or gave me a headache, then I knew that I had to take that out of my ingredient list. So I looked at these tastes and I started doing the experiment. And as I said before, the more ingredients you have in one meal, the harder it is to digest, because your stomach has to produce all kinds of different acids. So it takes energy from your body to digest. And this is what we get here at Vikasa. You know, anytime you go to a buffet, you have 30 options or 30 different ingredients at least that you could put on your plate. And maybe in the first week, some of you got belly aches, tummy aches, because you ate too many different ingredients. And next thing you're like, oh, it sure tasted good going down, but now I'm suffering. And that's because you put either the tastes that aren't right for your typology, and you could also combine foods that should not be combined together. And that's a whole other science, food combining. We talked a little bit about that in the nutrition lecture. Now, Kapha or Pitta can eat sweet, bitter, and astringent. Definitely Pitta suffers when I know I do, suffer when I eat spicy food. I already have a very high temperature, and so I always had this, like, especially when I first got to Thailand and I wasn't used to the weather, I used to say, if I'm breathing, I'm sweating. Because no matter what, it's hot and I am on fire inside. And then you add chili curry into that, and it's like, I literally have to bring a towel with me to eat curry. And I feel I have to apologize. I never eat a curry on a first date, because then it's very embarrassing. I'm dripping sweat on my date, and I'm sorry, but it's so good. So be careful with these foods because they're going to have an impact on you. Now, Kapha can eat spicy. Spicy for Kapha is very good, because what does spice do in a Kapha body? It ramps up the digestion. It gives you more fire for heat. And the heat of digestion is very important in Ayurveda, and we're going to talk more about that in a moment. Now, modern nutrition says the physical viewpoint, as I said, focus on your protein, your carbs, your minerals, your vitamins, etc.
Jason,
Yes, Mirta.
yoga actually says that like sattvic foods.
We're going to get to that as well in this lecture. So sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic is another categorization of food, and we're going to put it all together, okay, to make it make sense, hopefully. Now, raw food has a very high pranic energy because it hasn't been broken down at all by heating. And some people say everybody should eat raw food all the time. It's the best diet in the world. I was doing raw because I heard that and I wanted to try it. I did raw food and I was suffering so bad. As a person who has Pitta Vata, and Vata is very close to the Pitta within me, every time I eat raw food, I get a lot of gas in my belly and then gas coming out of the belly. So it's not very pleasant. And raw food diets only is not right for everybody. And one thing that Ayurveda says that I want you all to know, because I see it every night, it's not a very good idea to eat raw food at night, because raw food is harder to digest and it creates more vata. And if you eat raw food at night, it also can affect your sleep patterns because it's harder to digest and because you have more vata, which stimulates the mind. Is salad raw food? Therefore, we should really not eat too much raw food at night, okay? You can believe me or not, but through my own experimentation of stopping eating raw food at night, I feel better. You have to figure this out for yourself. So Ayurveda recommends cooking food to help the digestion because it helps to break down some of that prana and make it more assimilable or more digestible in the body. Fruits, this is another important thing. This has to do with food combining as well, because if we combine certain foods together at the same time, it's stressful for the body. One thing that I see people doing all the time that Ayurveda says you should never do, and you can survive, you're not going to die, okay? But it can help you to live at your optimal level, or you can live down here. The choice is yours. So if I want to live at my optimal level, I start experimenting to find out what helps me to achieve that. And one thing they say is never eat yogurt with fruit in it. And that's something everybody loves. And I love it too. I'm not saying I don't like it, but it also can create a certain energy in the belly that doesn't feel very nice. You have to decide for yourself, okay? But in terms of fruit, you should definitely eat it 1 hour before a meal because fruit is digested very quickly. And if you eat it with other foods, it's sitting there in your belly and it starts to rot while it's waiting for the other foods to be digested. And that will also create a lot more vata, a lot more gas. So try to separate your fruit consumption from the other foods that you eat. And of course, what happens here, we go to the breakfast, we eat everything, and then we end our meal with fruit. And they say you should always, if you're going to eat fruit with other food, eat the fruit first, then the other food. Because if you eat it first, then it's getting digested first, and it doesn't have to wait while the other foods are being digested, and it won't rot in your belly waiting for the other things to happen. So try to eat your fruit an hour before their meal or 2 hours after a meal. 1 banana 1 hour after a meal helps digestion, and they say a banana in the evening actually also helps with sleep because there's some chemicals in the bananas that help to sleep. Yep.
But they say that fruit has a lot of sugar. Don't eat in the evening.
Well, bananas are actually considered a different, it's a fruit, but because of the way it is, it has a little bit of a different effect on the body. So it's okay, it's recommended by them.
Just banana.
Just
not
banana,
other fruits.
right, exactly. Okay, now after lunch, it's recommended that you lay down on your right side to aid digestion. Why would we lay down on the right side? Okay, listen to how this is all connected, please. Remember Ida and Pingala Nadi? The two main nadis that regulate the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Ida Nadi is on the left side. That regulates the parasympathetic, which is Rest and digest. Digest on the left side. So if I lay on my right side, I'm compressing and slowing down the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight or stress. And that sends more energy into the Ida Nadi, which is responsible for the parasympathetic rest and digest. So if you lay for a half hour on your right side, that actually helps your digestion because it's opening the parasympathetic system more when you compress the right side of the body. So this is also something to be aware of. Maybe you can't do that at the office, but if you have a chance, see how it feels. Okay? Hide behind your desk and lay on the floor. Yeah.
Why is it just after lunch and not breakfast?
Well, after dinner, they don't recommend laying down because if you fall asleep, it will change your sleep pattern that night. And I can't honestly answer why not after breakfast. Okay? So, when you are doing vigorous exercise, vigorous yoga, you're releasing the Vata element. Now, here's the interesting thing. What your major dosha is what you're drawn to. But because you're drawn to it, we have a tendency to create an imbalance. So if I'm a type A person who's very Vata, very active, very mental, and all I want to do is do running around yoga and vinyasa yoga and Ashtanga yoga and fly, I'm bringing myself deeper into an imbalance of Vata. So I need to do things that slow me down so that I don't get too, we call it deranged. Deranged in English sounds really bad, but it means an imbalance. Deranged mentally is also an imbalance in the mind. So what we want to do is learn that our activities are also impacting our doshas. So if you're a type A Vata personality and you love Ashtanga yoga, great, good, do it, but do some yin yoga to balance it out as well. So always, this is why we always do Shavasana at the end of a practice or a meditation to ground ourselves back into the body. Because if you walk out of a very powerful Vata class, it feels nice in a way, but you're floating off the ground and you're not really connected to the earth. And you can be disconnected mentally from this reality, literally. So it's important to end with a grounding practice like Shavasana every time. Now, if you don't end with Shavasana, this is something I haven't talked about, but because it comes up now, you can always end a practice with meditation as well, because the meditation is the calming at the same time. Sometimes in a class where you have a limited time frame, maybe you only have an hour, and you want to have a meditation in yoga, you can end the class with a 10-minute meditation and no Shavasana. But students usually love their Shavasana, so you might get some complaints if you do that, just to let you know. Sorry? Yeah, oh, of course, yeah, and both. Yeah, meditation and Shavasana, that's even better, if you have the time. All right, so in the morning, now throughout the day, you have a different predominance. Everybody has more, let's say the energy of the universe is more of this, not you, but the energy around you is more kapha in the morning, right? You wake up, you feel a little slow. The earth is waking up as the sun rises. Things are coming from sleeping into a waking state. So it's a slow awakening in nature. It's not a big rush like we have as human beings. So the energy in the morning around sunrise and for the first few hours of the morning is more kapha, slower. In the afternoon, the sun is up, it's shining, the heat is out. So it's a more pitta energy of the universe and the environment at that time. And nighttime is usually more vata. So this is why some people, depending on your typology, are either a morning person or a night person, depending on what dosha predominance you have. Now, as I said before, within your lifespan, we have different categories or different time frames. Usually birth to 18 years old is the kapha period because we're developing our bones and things are growing and we need to grow slowly and get some more density and mass in our bodies. So as these things are growing, this is the kapha period of our life. Now, generally 19 to age 40 or 45 is the pitta time. This is when you're more active. This is when you're going out and getting a job and creating family, and you need that fire to manifest in the world. That's the more pitta time of your life. And then 45 on, it's the more vata time. As I said, as we get older, we get more vata. So to help decrease the signs of aging and to prolong our youthfulness, we need to deal with this vata starting now, not when you're old, because it's too late. You've already gotten out of the time when you had a chance to maintain your youth. So starting now, be aware of how you can impact your doshas through all the things we're mentioning. Summer, heat, pitta time. Fall and winter, more vata, air flowing. Rain and spring is more kapha, more moisture. What is kapha made of? Water and, what's the other one? Earth, yes. Okay. So here are some things that will not make you happy. But I love you anyway. So you should not eat cold food or drinks. Okay, and as I said before, that was a huge slap in the face because I love ice cream, I love cold watermelon, and the best thing on the planet that I have found so far is a mango shake in Thailand. So it's okay, you can have these things, but what I definitely want to encourage you is stop having cold drink with your food or right before your food. You're putting out the fire of digestion. You have a big fire here, and you want that fire to convert your food into your body. You put the fire out. How is the body going to do that if you don't have heat in your belly? So every time you drink a cold drink, whether it be iced tea or whatever it is that's very cold, you're actually really making your digestion much more difficult, and it's taking energy away from you because your digestion has to work harder to try to rebuild the fire that you just put out with that cold drink. So the proper food reduces your negative emotions. Now, alcohol and tea and coffee are not recommended. Tea meaning tea with caffeine. Why are these things not recommended, tea and coffee? Well, for one, coffee is the most acidic thing and one of the most acidic things you can put in your stomach. And I see people put that in every morning like it's heroin. They just can't get enough. That's fine, but just know that you are having an impact on your system. And as I said before, disease flourishes in an acidic environment. Disease cannot exist in an alkaline environment. So every morning you put acidic coffee, you're inviting your problems into your body by making that environment acidic. So if you're going to have coffee, then make sure you have something alkaline. Very alkaline is food also. So I'm not telling you you have to stop these things, but do realize that everything you put in your body has an influence.
What's proper food?
I'm sorry?
Proper food, what does that mean?
Well, proper food would be organic. You know, we know what proper food is. It's organic. It's healthy fruits, vegetables, and grains. You know, and we'll talk about the Satva concept that we mentioned before again. Now, alcohol is also it kills brain cells, all that stuff. Yeah, it feels good, and I have drank plenty of it in my life. I'm lucky I'm still here. And what I would say is, there's nothing wrong with a little alcohol, but all this stuff, do it in moderation, because it's any time that we do anything to extreme, then we pay the price. And it's okay to pay the price once in a while. Like I said, everything in moderation, especially moderation. Sometimes you got to go crazy once in a while and just 20%, okay? Just enjoy that 20% to the fullest. So, what is recommended is to drink warm or hot water, okay? Because that aids your digestion. And especially first thing in the morning, as I think I mentioned in the nutrition lecture, one of the great things that we can have is to have a warm cup of water with lime or lemon in there, because it's warm water, it starts to get the fire of digestion going, and it brings the alkaline element from the lime or the lemon into the body, and you alkalize your belly first thing in the morning. And then a half hour later, you can have your first food if you want. Yep.
Is it help with digestion? Someone with extremely fast digestion, is that recommended still to do?
Yeah, because it also is antiviral, antibiotic. It kills a lot of germs because it's such a strong acid. Lemon and lime is medicine for the belly. Okay. We shouldn't eat food that's super steaming hot either. Heat is fire, and fire is rajasic, and we're going to get to this idea of Satva, Tamas, and Rajas in a minute, and we talked about this a little bit. This is another way to talk about the energetics of food. Satva, Rajas, and Tamas. Tamas has to do with activity, with passion, with movement. So if we're eating food that's on fire hot, it's going to create more heat, more movement in the body, which is going to also impact the mind. So for those people that are very serious about meditation, they're very serious about the food they eat. If you're eating a lot of onions and garlic and chilies and really hot food, you are going to have a harder time meditating, because this energy is making your mind go faster. What we should eat is about room temperature food. And most people say, yeah, but food tastes better when it's warmer. I like my fruit better when it's cold. Again, 80-20, it's fine if you don't follow it 100%, but be conscious of the choices you're making. Guys, all I can say is the choice you have to make is if you want to live at your highest level of potential, then you will prioritize this and make this part of your life. If you want to be the best you can be, you're going to follow these guidelines, because this is the science that helps us understand how to maximize what we have. If you're okay with being less than your fullest potential, then you know you can make other choices. But I would like to try to be the best person I can and really fulfill the dharma or my natural path that I've been given. So I want to do the best I can in terms of putting the right fuel into the vehicle. But I eat ice cream and I eat junk food sometimes, but I also do other things to bring balance. You know, I do a lot of pranayama, I do a lot of yoga, I do swimming, and I do biking. So the 80-20 rule is my best friend. Now, try not to eat food after 3 hours after it's been prepared. Why? Because the energy level goes way down, and they even say it becomes dead. So one thing that we do in the West is we cook a lot of food at night, we take what we haven't eaten, we put it in the fridge, and then we eat it the next day. Yoga and Ayurveda says you might still get protein, you might still get vitamin A and vitamin D and minerals and carbohydrates, but you won't get the subtle energy that your prana body needs to live. So it's not going to be as fulfilling. And the other thing is when we take food and reheat it, we destroy it, actually. So they say you should never reheat food or water ever. They say that reheating water, like so let's say you have a kettle and you have water and you turn it on and it's half full, and then you pour a cup of tea and there's still water in, and then you reheat that again, and sometimes you reheat it several times. It's making it worse and worse. It's making it poison. Now you're not going to die from it, so it's not an extraordinary poison, but it is having an impact on your body. So try not to eat things that are reheated because the pranic value is 0.
So like no meal prep.
No what?
No meal prep.
You cook and you eat. You cook and you eat. You cook and you eat. This is a...
That's crazy.
It's exhausting.
I meal prep my entire
What
life.
about soup?
Sorry, I have a question over here.
Sure.
What about what about drinks that you put in the fridge, like water and milk?
If it's cold,
That's what I said.
then it's not so good for you. Okay, but what you can do is you keep them in the fridge to keep them from spoiling, and then you let them sit for a little bit, a few minutes, so that they warm up actually. And so it's not so icy cold when you put it in your belly. Chilled is okay. I mean, it's better than ice cold, like with ice in it. If it's a little bit cool, guys, there's varying degrees, right? So just use your common sense in terms of trying not to have always ice with your food. So when you put food in the freezer, you might again take it out, reheat it, and you'll have the protein, you'll have the carbohydrates, but you won't have the energetic value. And we know, guess what? That the pranic body is the matrix for the physical body. So the more that you feed prana into the prana body, the more the physical body will have health. So this is why we do pranayama, because pranayama impacts the physical body as well, all the other things too. But the more we feed prana into the body, the healthier we are. So if we're eating food that has no prana, we're not actually giving all of the bodies what they need. And of course, every time you deep fry something, it becomes extremely acidic. The oil goes it goes over the level where it's safe for it to eat, because it becomes toxic actually and becomes poisonous when you heat oils over there. What is that level called? There's a certain, it's not the boiling point, there's a certain word for it. Anyway, maybe it will come. Now, cooking methods. This is also important. Danielle.
In some countries, like, I don't know, if there's not an ocean nearby, the way of getting fish is because it comes frozen.
Sure.
So
Not-
I know you're gonna tell me be a vegetarian, but
I'm not going to tell you that. Me? My dear. No, well, anything that travels long distances loses prana. So if we're eating, it just makes sense. You know, things that are grown locally, in season, and natural to the place that you're born, you are living in that environment, which means your body is adapted to that environment, which means that you should eat the food that's from that environment, because your body's not adapted to the food from Australia or South Africa or Argentina.
No, I live in a city, so
Far from the ocean.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. But all these things I'm saying to help you understand, it's not just about being vegetarian.
okay.
It's about the prana. Let's say you live somewhere and you got an avocado from South America, even though you live in Canada. They say that that's not so good either, because the prana has been damaged dramatically through those travels. And also the fact that it's not from the region in which you are living in. We should eat foods according to the season in which we're living in as well. We eat different foods according to the season because our bodies, our minds, and our energy is different in each season. So we want to eat the energetic food that's appropriate to that season as well. Okay.
Maybe I'll get out fish.
All right, cooking methods have an impact on how that food is digested as well. So Vata is dry and airy. So we should eat foods to maintain balance and not make ourselves more dry and airy by having moist cooking, like boiling and steaming. Pitta, a lot of fire. So we can saute things, a very light fry, just what do they call that? Like surface or quick stir fry, that's it. That's what a lot of the Asian dishes are, which is healthy actually, because a lot of people in tropical climates tend to be Pitta. They are heat. They live in an environment of heat, so they have heat in their bodies. So you can start to see that your environment that you were born in is also playing a part in your typology. It's not just your parents, it's not just your DNA. You were born into that body through the parents, into that region because of your karma. So all of these things help you to understand that you can bring balance not only through your yoga practice, but also through your diet. Now, Kapha is more moist, so they can balance that moisture by having things that are more dry, like grilling, roasting, and baking. Okay. Now, 3 doshas. In Ayurveda, everything is composed of the 5 elements: air, water, fire, earth, and ether. These elements then combine to form the 3 doshas. This is like a summary. I'm bringing it back again. I want to recycle it so you hear these things again. If you hear it only once, it's hard to remember sometimes. So they combine the 3 to create the 3 doshas, or constitution. The constitution or typology is a translation of the Sanskrit word dosha. And your individuality comes from a unique combination of 3 basic bioenergies or doshas that are themselves combination of the 5 elements. You see how it's breaking down from 5 elements to 3 elements, and you are a manifestation of those 3 doshas. We all have some of each dosha. Most of us tend to have an abundance of 1 dosha or possibly a predominant combination of 2. Now we're going to get to the next thing that helps us get deeper into this understanding, the 3 gunas. This is what I'm talking about here with Satva, Rajas, and Tamas. These are called gunas, 3 gunas. Now the 3 gunas, in addition to the doshas that form the physiological constitution, Ayurveda recognizes mental, psychic energies, or gunas that comprise the mind to determine your psychological character. So this understanding helps you understand which foods to eat for your mind, not just for your body. When the 3 gunas are balanced, they keep the mind and the body healthy. An imbalance, however, can produce mental and physical disorders, as we know. Now, the gunas are the subtlest principles in all forms of energy. They are more subtle than the doshas. So we could say the gunas are the higher vibration, and they come down to create the elements of the universe: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and those comprise the doshas. So it's actually, we're going backwards now to the more subtle vibration of the gunas that have the impact at the psychological level. Every form of energy, physical or mental, will have the gunas, sattva, rajas, or tamas, in a particular ratio. This will come together with the doshas in a moment. So the doshas are the grosser or slower vibration energies that make up the physical body. So each dosha will also have 3 gunas in some proportion. So let's say a person is Pitta, they will have a combination of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas within their Pitta constitution. Okay? More's coming, it'll make sense. Now, these gunas are present in everything and every being in the world. Everything is made of these energies. Together, they are what create the entire existence, or what's called Prakruti, nature. Remember when we talked at the very beginning about Prakruti being your dosha dominance that you're born with? Prakruti simply means nature. And in the philosophy we're going to talk about next week, we'll talk about the difference between Prakruti, nature, and Purusha, the transcendent or the divine. So everything is connected. Now, all of the forms come from the 3 gunas. These are the subtle energies, and they cannot be perceived with your senses. So nobody can say, oh, I see you're very sattva today by looking at your aura. It doesn't look like that, okay? There's a different way. It's much more subtle than that. Again, it's not like you cut open your body and in an autopsy and say, wow, that guy's got a lot of sattva in there. Doesn't work like that. So what do we understand? How do we know what the impacts are? By the effect. If we eat a lot of chilies, I'm going to feel the effect of the heat in my body. If I eat too much raw food at night, I'm going to feel the effect of air, and my neighbors will not be happy in the morning practice. So this is important to understand. We understand the fan is turning because there's electricity because the fan is turning. So you understand, it's not something you can see or perceive with your senses. They're understood by the impact that they have upon us. But they all are coexisting at all times. Now let's go into these in depth. Satva. Remember in the book and in the first quiz we had, what food should you eat? Sattvic food. Sattvic is just the adjective of the noun sattva. So sattva food or sattvic food is the stuff that's the most pure. And of course, if we know that yoga is all about purification and coming back to that state of balance, then purification and purity of food is why sattva is so important. So yogis say you want to eat all sattvic food if you can. Like literally, don't have any of the other stuff, because anytime you have any rajasic food or tamasic food, it's going to affect your mind and your meditation. So the sattvic food, or sattva, the quality of sattva, I should say, is calm, quiet, focused, centered, pure, essence, nature, vital energy, clean, conscious, strong, courage, true, etc. Okay, these are all the pure qualities. And now you can see it's not just food that here, it's also related to characteristics of the human being, the psychology, like courage, truth, honesty, wise. So it's deeper than just the physical body. Now the rajas, and this is a big one, restless, hyperactive, agitated, passionate, moving, or emotional. Once we learn these, we can also start to look at people as being more sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic. The people that are more pure, you can sense their energy, they're calmer, they're cleaner, they're more balanced. The people that are rajasic cannot stop moving. They can't stop thinking, they can't stop striving, and type A people that have to have more and more and more. On the other hand, tamas people are usually slower, more relaxed, chill, hanging out, sleepy, lazy, lethargic, but this is one possible characteristic of this energy.
But isn't the rajas, for example, then more like Petta? Can you combine them, and tamas is more like a...
No,
Well,
you can't.
aspects of all three.
So each of, thank you, the Pitta will have aspects of all three. Pitta person can have sattva, rajas, and tamas. Okay, and the Kapha person, same thing. Each of these doshas can have a different ratio of the gunas. Okay, so the gunas are actually feeding into the doshas. The doshas are created from the gunas. So this will go, I think this will get clear. Yeah.
So is the point of associating these qualities with certain types of food to perpetuate the idea that you eat the certain things that you're lacking to balance that out?
We're gonna go into this about how to bring the balance through this science in a moment.
I'm just having
It's-
trouble understanding how these can be qualities as well as certain types of food. But you're gonna explain that.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
So because it's an energy, and we are made of energy, and the food is made of energy. So the food could have a rajasic quality, meaning like a chili.
Right.
Or a food could have a tamasic quality, like things grown in the dark, mushrooms, nightshades, like eggplants, things like this, they have a tamasic quality. But then if we look at the human being, they could have a tamasic quality because they're more of a slow being. They're more of a relaxed person. Or they could be more a rajasic person because they're more fiery and passionate.
Okay.
Okay? Good. Now, rajas and tamas are not bad. Okay? Don't think that these are bad. You have to have all three. If you want to get up in the morning, you need to have some rajas. Otherwise, you'll just sleep all day. If you want to go to sleep at night, you need to have some tamas that help you to go into the sleep state. So I'm not saying that these things are bad. It's understanding how they impact you and bringing the balance in through this knowledge. Each of us has a unique combination, as we know. So your food influences the three gunas. Change your food and literally you can change your mind. And this is why yogis who are very much into meditation say only eat sattvic food. Doesn't matter what your dosha is, because you can find sattvic food that fits your dosha. So there's pure types of food that are better for pitta people. There's pure types of food that are better for kapha people. And there's types of food that are good for... Thank you. I'm losing my way through all these words here. Yes. Okay. So now let's take a look. Sattvic food, now we're going to go into the food aspect of this energetic understanding. Sattvic diet is meant to include food and eating habit that's pure, essential, natural, vital, energy containing, clean, conscious, etc. It sounds like the same thing as the human being, but now we're talking about the energetic of the food. So seasonal foods, fruits, dairy products, nuts, seeds, oils, ripe vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and non-meat based proteins. If you want to have easier access to meditation, try to bring a predominance of sattvic food into your life. It really does make a difference, because I've gone into places in my life from the experiments that I've done where I only ate sattvic food, and then one night I went and had a curry, and the next morning in my everyday morning meditation, it was really hard to stay focused. Or if I go out and have a very big heavy meal the night before full of tamasic food, heavy oils and mushrooms and things like that, and I try to meditate the next morning, I'm literally falling asleep. So through my own experiment, I can verify that this stuff actually is accurate in terms of how it impacted my system. So Rajasic food, this is something you need to be aware of, to not eat too much of it, because it's going to make your mind even more busy. But if you're a very slow tamasic person, this is how we start to bring balance in. Okay, by using the opposite energy to bring balance. If we have too much of something, we use the opposite energy to balance it. So Rajasic food can provoke mental restlessness. It could even provoke aggressive and dominating thoughts and behaviors. They say that people that eat too much Rajasic food, that can create a tendency towards violence even. Energize and develop the Manipura navel chakra and body, but do not promote advancement in the higher chakras. So if you're eating a lot of spicy, fiery food, that's good for your Manipura chakra, but it's not going to necessarily help the higher chakras. Which food's going to help the higher chakras? The sattvic food, the purity, of course. So tamasic food, this is what stimulates and strengthens the lower two chakras, the first chakra and the second chakra, root chakra and the sacral chakra. But it will not assist in the higher chakras as well. So we do need tamasic food. We need some at some point in our lives to balance, depending on your dosha, depending on your typology in that moment as well. So all I can say is I can't give you a formula. I can't say one size fits all. The only way you're going to figure this stuff out is through your own experimentation. And it takes time. You know, it takes months, maybe even a few years. But you're all young. Most of us are young. I'm very young. And we have several years left. So you might as well do this experiment now for the next year and allow that to be a part of the rest of your 50, 60, 80 years on this planet. So take the time now and figure out what food works best for you, because it'll impact the rest of your life, I promise you. Yeah.
If you went and saw an Ayurvedic doctor, would they be able to give you a better idea of your Gunas as well as?
No, because every dosha has all three gunas. So you're going to have all the gunas anyway. So it doesn't go in that direction. You're always going to have all the gunas. So it's not telling you about what gunas you have, because you have them all.
Yeah, you have them all.
Right. But what they will do is tell you which foods are better for your typology, based on their understanding, which is far greater than mine, about how to combine, because you're going to have two doshas that are predominant, right? Okay. Now, here's just a table to help see what I've already said. And you're going to have this so you can have a quick reference to it. But sattvic food, very easy, right? Food that promotes purity of mind, peace, intelligence, and right decisions. That's what I want. Rajasic food, food that gives us motivation, food that keeps us attached to the ego and creates desires. Didn't we talk about how desire is one of the causes of suffering? So the more Rajasic food you have, the more you're going to create desire, which creates suffering. Would you like to stop the suffering? I would. Foods that destroy our resistance to disease. If you eat too many tamasic foods, you're lowering your resistance. And it clouds the mind. As I said, if you eat too much tamasic food, it's like you're falling asleep. You're lethargic. Your brain is too slow. You can't even think clearly. And this is what promotes negative emotions. So the foods themselves are not bad. It's just bringing the balance into the diet itself. Now, let's see how we combine these together. Vata. If you have sattvic vata, you're creative, inspired, enthusiastic, artistic, intuitive, and divine. But if you have a rajasic vata typology, meaning you have too much rajas in your vata typology, that's not good, because you're going to get nervous, anxious, manic, hyper, worrisome, and fearful. Too much spinning of the mind makes you anxious, makes you worried, makes you fearful. But if you have a tamasic vata, you can feel depressed, addicted, psychological problems, even to the extreme of suicidal, God forbid. Now, if you're a Pitta person that's sattvic, meaning you are the purity of the Pitta typology, you're a strong leader, clear thinking, spiritual, teacher, and perceptive. However, if you're Rajasic, you can get angry, hot-tempered, judgmental, resentful, and controlling and jealous. So now does this make more sense, how we put them together? And if you're tamasic in the Pitta typology, you can be violent, hateful, vindictive, hurtful, and even to the level of, you see that there. So Kapha, if you're sattvic and in that pure state, nurturing, peaceful, loving, compassionate, jolly. I love that word. You're jolly. You're like Santa Claus. Generous and patient. However, if you're a Rajasic type of Kapha person, you can see, you get attached to things, objects. You can be stubborn, possessive, and hold grudges. And the last one, if you are tamasic in your Kapha, you're intensely attached to pleasure and material things. Self-loathing, meaning negative self-image. Lethargic, and this can lead to even crime, let's say. Now that's an extreme, we know. But now you see how these energies are combined to create an understanding. Very different than get your proteins, get your carbohydrates, and get your minerals. Okay, we're talking about the other 4 bodies in Ayurveda, not just the physical body that needs proteins and carbohydrates. And now you know that your food impacts your emotions and your mind. So just choose wisely, 80-20, but do the best you can in the circumstances in which you find yourself. We don't expect perfection yet. You're working towards that. But as you're working there, just do the best you can, okay? Never beat yourself up for eating the wrong food, because that's counterproductive, all right? One thing that we can do for all food that we eat, and this has been scientifically verified through someone from Japan who did a lot of research with how thoughts and intention and words affect water. What is his name now? It'll come to me maybe. But he did a lot of different types of experiments where you have a glass of water and you put the word written on a piece of paper and put it on the glass, hate. And you put another glass of water and you put the word written on a piece of paper and tape it to the glass that says love. And you take a drop of that water and you analyze it under a microscope. And the crystal construction of the molecules of water with the word hate are literally ugly, very fractured and not balanced. And you take a water molecule from the glass that says love on it, and it creates a beautiful picture that's totally balanced. And you could see that it radiates a certain energy of light. So just by using words on a glass written, you can impact the molecular structure of whatever's in that container. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is quantum physics as well. It's the same thing as yoga. Quantum physics is catching up with yoga. What they're saying is, by having an intention, your consciousness is affecting everything around you. This is your movie. Look at this quote. This quote came to me in last night's meditation. Everyone and everything you see is you looking back at you. Everything is you, looking at you, teaching you who you are, because you're not this, although you have this, but you are not this. You're the infinite consciousness in which all of this is arising. So everything that you see is you. It's a reflection of some aspect of your consciousness. Your consciousness is infinite, the universe is infinite, it's all within inside of you. It is all you. I am you and you are me, literally. Now, this might be a bit much for the intellectual, rational mind to swallow, but if you still the mind and look into another person's eyes in deep eye gazing, it becomes more than clear that it's the same consciousness in your eyes that's looking at the same consciousness in my eyes. But this is something that will happen to us at some point in our evolution of our consciousness. So what we can do to help all of our food, no matter what's on the plate, is bless the food. We literally send love into that food and gratitude, and it will change the molecular structure of that food. If you can write a word on a glass and it changes the molecular structure of water, your intention of your mind absolutely has an impact on the thing that you are observing. This is what quantum physics says. The observer is impacting what is being observed. So therefore, what you're eating is impacted by how you approach your meal. If you're just eating on a run as you go from one job to the other, let's say, and you don't have any awareness of what you're doing, you're just shoveling it in so you don't feel hungry anymore, That's very different than if you sit down and you give thanks to all the hands, animals, plants, earth, moon, sun, stars, skies, and elements that brought this to you. And those are the exact words I say in my prayer when I eat every time. Thank you to all the hands, animals, plants, earth, moon, sun, stars, skies, and elements that made it possible for me to survive by having this food. And then I say, food, I love you. I thank you for being the highest vibration for the health of all my bodies. Thank you for sustaining this life. By sending this energy into the food, it impacts the energy of the food, and then you take that energy back into your body. So yoga science is very conscious of how we approach and what intention we have in our actions, because it's in our intention that's also creating the karmic repercussions. It's not just what we do, it's our intentions behind what we do that has an impact on the karma that we create. So blessing your food is something that you can try it, you can experiment with it. Now, there's been other experiments. If you they had food in 2 different containers, and each day the person would bless the food, one of the containers, and the other container didn't get any blessing. And this was just regular food. So after a certain amount of hours and days, it would start to rot, yes, because it's just natural organic material. The food that was receiving the blessing every morning rotted so much slower than the food that received no blessing. Now, this is something you can do with yourself. I've done this experiment for myself. You can take, and you put them in 2 different rooms because the energy is close to each other if it's right next to each other. And you can take water, or you could take food, and you can do Reiki, meaning sending the energy into the food, and the other one gets nothing. And over the course of a week, you can verify for yourself all of this stuff that might sound fantastic and mythical, which is not. It's absolutely reality. So if you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. This is how I decide what's right for me, is by checking it out for myself. I listen to the teachers, I take what they say, and then I do the experiment. Otherwise, it's just somebody else's idea of what's right for them. But you need to figure it out. Okay? Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, end of summer, I bought 10 avocados from the market.
Mm.
They were rock hard.
Mm.
So end of summer, sunlight's kind of not so much anymore. I put it on the windowsill, nothing happened. I was then told, put them in a bag next to a banana.
Put them in a paper bag next to a banana. It speeds up the ripening process.
Why is that?
I don't know. It works. I don't know. She's asking about buying avocados that were rock hard and they wouldn't get ripe, and we can put them in a paper bag next to a banana, and that speeds up the ripening process. How that works, I don't know.
It generates more egg.
Same with an apple. You put an apple beside it.
Okay. So this is the introduction that I have to give you. There's so much more to go into it, but I wanted to paint a bigger picture. As you guys know, that's what I'm here to do in an introductory level course. I'm here to paint the big picture, and it's up to you to do your research to find out more for yourselves, especially now that you know how valuable the food is for your evolution, literally. If it's changing your mind and emotions, it's changing your consciousness. So food affects your consciousness. So be aware of these things. Any questions about Ayurveda? It's a cool science, right? Now, okay, a few things just came back. Now, in addition to food, what Ayurveda also has a very great understanding of is herbs. Nature has given humankind almost everything, if not everything, it already needs. So all these plants around us in nature, not all, but many of them have medicinal qualities. So Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine also, very big use of herbs to help bring our doshas into balance and even to alleviate illness. Because I didn't know about herbs until about 6 years ago, and then I started doing research and I started experimenting with different herbs. And over the last 6 years, I've come to find the herbs that work best for this body. And it's amazing how much better they make me feel. Because when I don't take them for an extended period of time, I can sense a difference. So I've done the experiment. And when I do take them, I guarantee that one of the reasons I feel so energetic is, of course, yoga, pranayama, tantra, but it's also because of the way that I am eating, the way that I am having my intention when I eat, and the way that I understand that this science has been around for thousands of years, okay? Very few sciences have been around for thousands of years. There's a reason for that. It works. So start connecting the dots for yourself. Yeah.
How do you use your herbs? Do you use them in a tea form or just on your food? Or
I just put it in water, mix it in water, and just drink it back. You can make tea from the actual plant material, but what I do is I buy bulk powder herbs, so I get a kilo for cheaper than if I buy capsules. And if you're going to take herbs, it's better to take them in powder form, because anytime you take a capsule, it has a gelatin capsule that actually inhibits digestion. So if you're taking a bunch of herbs and you take a handful of pills that are covered in gelatin caplets, that's actually slowing down and preventing a lot of the absorption. So anytime you can, you want to empty the herbs out of those caplets, but better just to get either the plant material itself and make a tea, an infusion, or take the bulk powder. Luckily in Thailand, this is an extraordinary place of medicinal herbs, and they have a rich history here of using herbs, as they do in China and in India, for healing. So whatever it is that you need to bring into balance, let's say you have a problem with your digestion, there are definitely herbs that can help you with that. Let's say you have a problem with menstruation. A lot of women suffer every month because they have pain and because they have symptoms that literally make them have to lay down. You can address those symptoms through certain Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine herbs. There are herbs that help to balance the female hormones. There are herbs that help to balance the male hormones. So there's something for everybody. Whatever it is that you need to balance, whether it be physical, energetic, emotional, or mental, there are herbs that can help us. So I really encourage you that if you or anybody in your family or friends or students need to heal something, herbs are an additional part of the science of yoga, asana, and pranayama, additional part of the science of eating right. You bring in the herbs, and then the next step is also in Ayurveda, massage. Massage is so healing because it gets the energy flowing through the body, through the veins, through the prana body, because energy from the masseuse into your body is stimulating the flow of prana. So all of these things combined together, it's like we use as many tools as we can to be the best we can. And you use everything at your disposal to fulfill your potential. And this is why you have to experiment to find out which are the tools that work best for you. This is what I've been doing for 10 years, and I'm really happy that I did it, because now at age 44, I feel amazing, and I know that I have tools that will continue to keep me healthy through the rest of my life, you know, and God forbid an accident or something, but I know how to heal this body based on having gone through the experiments to find what works best. So that's what I'm trying to point out to you, okay? Any other questions about Ayurveda? Pretty cool, yeah? It all ties together. And everything in the universe is a reflection of everything else. And this is what yoga is teaching us.